Latina Voices is proudly sponsored by United Airlines, the official airline of Latina Voices Smart Talk. Goya Foods. When it's Goya, it's got to be good. And Fiesta Mart, serving you since 1972.
This time on Latina Voices Smart Talk, she is called the tropical tycoon, media mogul, show producer. We call her a Latina exitosa. Who is Nelly Galan? She has her own self-description next. And Alisa Murray is another strong, empowered woman who's gone as far as India to help orphans. A philanthropist, she's also a noted portrait photographer and columnist. You'll meet her next on Latina Voices Smart Talk. A show about universal topics with a Latina point of view.
Latina Voices Smart Talk.
Welcome back. I'm Minerva Perez with my co-host, Texas super lawyer Sofia Adrogué, and our guest host today, and she's an HR executive and community leader, Helen Cavazos. Welcome to Latina Voices.
Thank you so much.
Well,
I'm
thrilled
so
to have
happy.
you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Watched you, and now I'm here.
Absolutely.
She's excited to be here.
Okay.
Well, we're a show about universal topics from a Latina point of view, so let's get talking.
Absolutely. Well, the good news about this book, it's short and it's simple.
Okay.
Actually given by a dear friend to my daughter Sloan. It's called Help, Thanks, and Wow, the 3 essential prayers. And she says in the back, I may not know everything I need to know about God and prayer, but over the last 25 years, I've decided that the recipe for success is to keep it simple. To ask for help,
It's simple.
say thanks, and periodically when something happens that it's a wow, you add the wow.
Something extraordinary.
Exactly.
And I've run into quite a few
So
extraordinary
help,
things
thanks,
lately.
and wow. I thought it was, if nothing else, it's a nice way to spend a few moments.
Okay, and we're talking about Nelly Galan today, who is a big media mogul across the world, it seems like. The woman is a dynamo. And you have something to talk about Nelly.
Absolutely. I've had the opportunity to meet Nelly, the Adelante movement at the National Hispano Leadership Institute, of which I'm a member. And she's also spoken at the Latism and the National Council of La Raza to promote the Adelante movement. And I happen to be a member. So that is, it's incredible because it's really bringing Latina business leaders together. And we needed that. And the Coca-Cola company has really sponsored and is working in this particular arena, which really is an incredible thing because, of course, you know, we really do need the sponsorship to get us going.
And there's a book, the Latino List.
There's a book. I want to talk about the Latino List, and it is La Lista de los Latinos, and there's the 24 top Hispanics in the U.S. And this won't be the last, I can tell you that.
And Nelly's in it, right?
Nelly
Well, the
is in
beautiful
it.
part is just looking at the front and back. Minerva, we have interviewed
A lot of these people.
A lot of these people.
Yeah.
Isn't that a terrific thing?
is.
That
Good to know.
really
Thank
is.
you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Latina Voices Smart
Smart
Talk.
Talk will continue.
Right
We'll be
after
right back. Nelly Galan can only be described as a powerhouse in Spanish language media. She was the president of entertainment at Telemundo Network, executive producer of a myriad of reality shows, and among other accolades, was a contestant on Donald Trump's The Apprentice.
And all of this while she was in her 30s. Now Nelly is promoting women empowerment through her latest venture, the Adelante Movement, a national women's campaign.
I know about the Adelante movement, and it's a very exciting thing for Latinas everywhere. Today, we really want to answer the question, who is the real Nelly Galan?
Nelly Galan is an entrepreneur, a Latina before anything. I should have said Latina first. I'm very proud to be Latina. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a mother, I'm a bit of a maverick, and I'm a little rogue, which is why I can't work for anybody else. So I gotta do my own thing.
But you did work for someone else. You were the president of entertainment for Telemundo.
I was president of Telemundo. I think I tried to work within a corporation. It's very hard for me because I am, and that's why I'm happy to be at Latism with Latinos and social media, because I think people that are into blogging and people, and I'm one of these type of people that I'm a truth seeker. I like to speak the truth. That doesn't always work in a corporation. And I think when you realize that you are that kind of person, that I will, I say what I believe, and I try to be as authentic as I can be, that doesn't always work in a corporation. So the light bulb should go on that you're meant to be an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, that's a great gift.
What has your path been like, doing everything you've done?
I think people don't realize that to do great things in life, there are great sacrifices. I had a child later in my life. Thank God I had one, but I almost didn't. I almost didn't have a relationship. If you hear my story, you know that I started a business and for 4 years I didn't make a penny. And my parents were like, por favor, cásate, la belleza se te va. And I had a boss, Jerry Parentia, who then ended up owning Univision, who said, when I was your age, I started a business and it took me 10 years to make money. And I thought, well, I'm only on year 4. And if I didn't have someone tell me that from the outside world, all I heard from my parents was give up. So because I didn't give up, because I sacrificed, because I downscaled and I basically lowered my overhead, I was able to survive for 4 years. And in the 4th year, I got my first piece of business. And a year after that, I had multi-million-dollar worth of business. And that's one of the things I want to talk about. We can't give up. It's not an easy road, but it's an important road. I'm a young woman, and I am not retired, because I will never retire, but I don't have to work. I work because I want to, not because I have to. And women say, well, that's you. No, every woman can do that. I'm not J-Lo. I'm not a singer. I'm not a dancer. I'm just a working woman. If I could do it, everyone could do it. And that's what I really want for us. I don't want to see a bunch of Latina viejitas struggling and working when, everybody can retire at their own level. Everybody's level of retirement is different. But it is possible if instead of buying so many shoes, we take the money, put it away for bigger things, like buying a building, like buying a home in your country of origin, like, sending our kids to college so they can help us. We have to put money away for bigger things.
Tell me about the Adelante movement.
The Adelante movement started, that I've had this career, worked really hard as the career sounds great, but it's been very hard. And 4 years ago, I was on Celebrity Apprentice, and Gene Simmons said to me on the show, why do I feel like you're climbing a mountain the hardest possible way, like you're an immigrant, like you don't own your success? And it kind of made me think, like, what is it about us that we don't quite ever feel like we've arrived? And in the middle of all that, I was asked to be part of the Coca-Cola Advisory Board. And on the board, I heard Latinas are the #1 emerging economic market, not just in this country, in the world. And I just said, oh my God. And they said, the world is their oyster. Everybody, every company wants to give them money, but they don't know where to go or how to do it. And I go, oh my God, I'm very lucky because I've been an entrepreneur. I've worked for 5 billionaires. I have made money. I decided to take a sabbatical when the economy tanked and go back to school. And in that period, I thought, I'm going to do something for Latinas. Yo no me muero. I'm not going to die without doing something. And I realized with the research of Coke, they said the reason Latinas are not going to the highest places is because no one is inviting them in. And I realized we're not going to do it if we don't go on the road, city by city, and show Latinas where the opportunities are.
Media mogul, Latina media tycoon, women's empowerment advocate. New York Times called you the tropical tycoon, a power broker. What do all of these titles mean to you?
They're important. I think that it would be a lie to say they're not important, more than anything because Latinas need to hear that other Latinas have done things. And I think one of the things that you're going to hear today too is, I really believe if we don't promote each other, you're going to see how I elevate my other Latinas here. Because we don't promote each other. It's like we have women that are extraordinary in our community, and instead we kind of don't even know they exist. We don't tell our children about them. Our children should know who every Latina and every Latino that have done anything in our market, who they are. And I think we should exagerar who we are. I mean, let's stop being so humble. I think we should elevate each other to the highest place to the rest of the world. We're tontas if we don't do that, because we're all we've got. We're all we've got. If we don't help each other, who the hell is going to help us?
You created the show The Swan, Father Albert. Were there personal issues that moved you to make these shows?
I'm so glad you asked me that, because I create shows from my pain. I believe, and I'm going to talk about this today, I believe that, and Sandra is really good at this too, you're not a great writer if you don't go deeply into your pain. If you were molested, if you're an immigrant, if something bad happened to you, you can't run away from that. You have to own it and use it to help other people and to make money. Okay? Because that's your unique life story that you can monetize. Okay? For me, all the shows I do, you know, Father Albert, I went to all-girl Catholic school, and you'll hear all the issues I had with Catholic school. So I work through my issues in my TV shows. And I make money. I did a show called The Swan because I was a single mom. I had had a baby. I felt like the pits. I felt like, man, I need therapy and a boob lift. And I did a TV show that's made millions of dollars. So I say, don't run away from your pain. Own it. Have that be your badge of honor and make money from it.
How much higher can Nelly Galan go?
Much higher. I think, you know, I say, and you'll see in one of my tapes, I say, you know, my dreams for my life were not as big as the dreams that came through for me. So I really have accomplished a lot of my dreams. And I think that's why I needed to restart, go back to school, and think, has what's gotten me here still my dream? And I've rebooted. I have a whole new dream for the last part of my life. I'm not gonna be a viejita sitting home watching novelas, I'll tell you that. So, you know, first I wanna really help Latinas and women, and then I'm thinking much bigger about what's the next mission for my life, and I'm in process right now. But you can guarantee that I'm gonna be, God willing, an 80-year-old that I might climb Mount Kilimanjaro, who the heck knows? I love that lady that swam to Cuba. I'm like, I love that woman. I don't think we should be viejitas. We're too great to minimize ourselves as we get older. I am happier as I get older. Not so much visually, but wisdom-wise, yes. Wisdom-wise, it's incredible to be realizada and to be actualized. And you do that by having your own money, your own house, your own car, pay everything off. That is happiness.
Owning your own happiness. What a finish, ladies. Well, there's more Latina Voices right after this. Alisa Murray is a noted artist with a camera. Her widely known portraiture studio is her canvas. She's also a community leader and magazine columnist who writes about women for women.
Alisa is also a philanthropist, currently focused on children and orphanages in India, among other amazing projects. She recently traveled there and returned with stories not only of human suffering, but also of hope and inspiration for all of us.
Please welcome Alisa Murray to Latina Voices Smart Talk Studios. Welcome. Let's get to how you help the community at large.
Well, I have several different projects that I have been working on over the past 10 years. I have what I call my art and medicine projects. And much of that deals with the way that we can give back as an artist to the community through photography, through philanthropy, and the marriage of both of those, to be able to utilize my work as an artist and make a product or make something that would make a difference and give an organization an opportunity to have a fundraiser. My work with breast cancer over the past 10 years has generated about $70,000 total from the studio to give back to research in various different organizations in our community, MD Anderson, Memorial Hermann, to name a few. Currently, I'm working on a pediatric kids cancer calendar. It's in its 4th edition for Texas Children's and the Snowdrop Foundation. The children in the calendar have been going through and are currently having treatment as cancer. I want to say the word survivor because they're children, they're babies. Mothers for the breast cancer calendar, over all the 10 years that I did that work, have all survived breast cancer. So they were at that point in their lives whenever I began that work. And then my recent work in India has been work with the Hope Endowment to go to the orphanages there and take care of photographing the children and documenting them and you know, their needs and what they need to have continued efforts towards, you know, building more orphanages and helping get more children off the streets.
Let's expand on that, because you went there and you went with camera in hand and you saw the need, the sheer poverty, these children who obviously struggle every single day of their lives. What did you see?
Minerva, I was so shocked at the ability to throw away children. I mean, we hear in the United States don't do that. And you know, I know that some children fall through the cracks, I'm sure everywhere, but the mass quantities of children that were just malnourished, that need to find a place, just basic roof, food, nutrients.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just missing the basic things that we all take so much for granted. And I mean, as a mother of two, and you know, I'll be the first to tell you, a doctor's daughter, I've lived a very sheltered life, you know. I was shocked, I was heartbroken to find children that were wandering the streets with no parents and no food and no hope.
Yeah. It was a slice of the Slumdog Millionaire movie,
really,
wasn't it?
It was really an eye-opener as an artist and as a mother, you know.
I think, though, you know, you yourself suffered with the loss of your mom when you were young, and I suspect it gives you a sense of empathy. I mean, I think that's part of your recipe for success as an artist, because you are cognizant of what adversity is like. It may not be exactly in the form of what some of these kids are experiencing, because you did, as you said, you know, had the luxury of having a father who was a physician and could care for you, but you can tell that you've lived and that you've experienced and that you've hurt. Tell us how that works into whether it's the small miracles or the inspiration calendar that you did before, the other things you do.
Well, the basic premise for the Hope and Inspiration calendar was that, you know, I had never, well, throughout my childhood, pictures of my mother were very, very few. And one of my good friends, when the children were, when Victoria Ann's little friend was about 3 years old, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I was so moved by that because my Uncle Jim, who was a photographer in Tyler, would give me photos of Mom, and I wanted to be able to do that for her daughter in case something happened. And so I remember calling her up. It was 2003. And you know me, you know, you know how I am, you know, I'm not making any special arrangements to try to save feelings. I called her and I said, listen, you know, here's the scoop. Mom got killed and I need to make sure I've got photos of you, you know, for Jackie. And I'm sorry, you know, I'm not hoping or wishing, I'm praying that you're going to make it, but in case you don't, you know, ... And so that's how the whole thing began. And I think a lot of what I do is based on that. You know, I'm able to sit down with parents who've had a child. This child that's on the cover of this particular cancer calendar passed away. And, you know, he was really good friends with my son, James Edward. And he came to play with us after he'd have treatment. And he would, you know, come in from Louisiana. And when I explained to James Edward, I was really worried because Jamesy was 8 when Patrick passed away, and I was 8 when Mother was killed. And I sat down with Jamesy and I said, gosh knows, you know, Patrick has gone to live with baby Jesus. And he said, oh, I'll see him someday. And I was just so struck because that's the kind of attitude I had whenever my mother was killed. I was kind of like, this is not the end of me seeing my mother. This is just the end of the time I have with her right now. And when I went to India, you know, the children don't have parents. They don't have a mother or a father. And they do have within the orphanage people who love them and care for them. I mean, the children that are there at that orphanage are very, very well loved. And they were smiling at me, they were dancing for me, they had made a performance for me when I got there. I felt like a queen, it was so fabulous. And one of the things that I wanted to leave for them behind is a photo for them to have of themselves, because again, photography is such an important thing to have, for you to remember someone who's passed away, for you to have a value to who you are as a child, to have something that's so frivolous in their eyes. I mean, food and water and shelter are so important. Photography is like the last thing on their list of things that they would ever ask for. And to give them something that was so not on that was what I was trying to do.
But your photography is for the good. I mean, you have used it endlessly to raise money for various projects, but you're also a columnist. You write about women for women. Talk about your column.
Well, I began Living the Sweet Life in 2006, and it's just very much, I always say to everybody, it's very like Paul Harvey. So if you're a Paul Harvey fan, and you know, God rest his soul, that's who and what I was inspired by with that particular opportunity. And I've been blessed enough to be able to write that every single month since then. And so it's really got a following. There's over 100,000 readers now, so it's just really cool. You know.
Well, I'd like to expand a little bit on the work that you do, the photography that you do. It's just amazing. I'm just impressed by just looking at these beautiful babies. I'm sure that it just gives a lot of, you know, inspiration to the moms and the parents. But I was particularly struck by the photos of the children from India, because as you say, you left them something. But to me, that puts a face on a real human being. You know, when you talk about need, there's need everywhere. But when you look at the specific faces, and they're smiling, I mean, to me, that just really is inspirational. So tell me how that moved you and how you want to continue this work.
Well, I was heartbroken when I got there, and I didn't know what to expect. And after I got home and got back to Sugar Land and was able to kind of process artistically what I'd done and what I'd come home with, I knew that I would never not go back. You know, it was one of those things, people were like, oh, are you going to go back? Of course I'm going to go back. There's a lot of work to still be done. But I think that if we could build bigger orphanages and we could gather more children off the streets, you know, putting a face to this situation, they're happy. Look what they've been given. They've been saved. And to celebrate the fact that this organization has been able to save so many children is just a huge effort towards, you know, bringing children off the streets.
And that's why you're going back, right?
Exactly.
We'll close it right there. There's so many accolades that we could talk about that you own, but you know, you have a labor wing at various hospitals named after you. I mean, these are amazing things that have happened to you in your life, and obviously you're giving back, and life is giving back to you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
And I love the feathers.
She always has little
Oh, it's a woman after my own heart.
No kidding, no kidding. We'll be back
I
with
know
more.
for the first time she had more.
We'll be back with more in just a moment.
We'd like to thank you for joining us on Latina Voices.
We'll be back next time with more interesting topics that matter to all of us.
For Latina Voices Smart Talk, I'm Minerva Perez. Don't forget to join us on Facebook.com/Latina Voices and LatinaVoices.com. Until next time, stay smart.
Latina Voices is proudly sponsored by United Airlines, the official airline of Latina Voices Smart Talk. Goya Foods. When it's Goya, it's got to be good. And Fiesta Mart, serving you since 1972.